Hello and welcome to 7 Golden Strixhaven. The purpose of these videos is just going to be to go through 7 cards I'm excited for in the new set for Niv decks in various formats. This is going to be in place of a full review because this set was crazy and there's way too much to choose from. So let's just go over some of the rules to begin with. The first one, these 7 cards must be a Niv hit. Basically, even though Moto-faced MDFC cards are technically gold cards, many of them are monocolored on one side and the other, and when they are searched for with Niv Mizzet, they don't count as cards. For example, Valky from Kaldheim. Number 2 is, it must be only 1 card per cycle to ensure some variety, or if this whole cycle is exciting, I can highlight the entire cycle as 1 pick. 7 picks only, but not 7 cards only, as I say there. And honourable mentions are allowed, but I can only devote 1 slide to it. This is just to stop me talking all day on the same thing. So with that in mind, let's just mention our honourable mentions here, and I just wanted to highlight these 3 MDFC cards in particular. Myla, Crafty Companion, which is 2 white and 1 for a legendary fox, which basically taxes your opponents for attacking you or targeting your permanents. And on the back half is Luca, which is basically a mono-red planeswalker with card looting, reanimation, and a Terror of the Peaks ultimate. Same with Rowan and Will. One side is a red planeswalker, the other side is a blue planeswalker. Big fan of them keeping the aesthetic that Will and Rowan share the same spark, so they'll always appear on the same card. And then we've got the cycle of Deans, but here I've just highlighted one in particular, which is the Silver Quill Dean. On the front half you have a 1/1 counter generator, and on the back you have another 1/1 counter generator that also gives you card draw. So, going through these cards, as you can see, they are technically gold cards, but because they are just monocolored on the one side, they're not hittable with Niv. However, the reason I wanted to highlight these in particular is, well, one, I'm excited for the Rowan and Will cards still being 1 planeswalker. The other thing I was going to highlight is that Mila and Luca cover the same interaction we have with Valky and Tybalt, in that we can bring to light for Mila to then get Luca. So I'm tempted to consider putting that in some kind of deck, because the -2 to bring back a Niv that's done. I mean, Niv will die next turn, but he would give us the card draw again. And the same interaction works with the Deans. We could get the one side and cast the other side as required. So these are potential inclusions in Niv decks, but you know, as I said, they're just honourable mentions here because they just don't fit in the we can hit them off Niv category. Alright, so now we'll move on to the actual 7. And the first one I want to highlight is the cycle of new tokens. So we have Witherbloom summoning Pests, Silverquill summoning Inklings. We get 4/4 elementals from Prismari, 3/2 spirits from Lawhall, and fractals from the Simic College. Oh, I've forgotten the name of that college already. That's how terrible I am. But I'm excited for these cards because, in essence, these are just... It's not just these cards, it's the fact that there's 5 new tokens being created. And that gives me closer to my goal of, in the Niv to token deck in Commander, being able to create 50 different tokens. Because half the deck is lands and ramp, and the other half is token generation. The inclusion of new tokens just always makes me excited, and I'm looking forward to playing not necessarily these cards, but other cards that generate these kind of token effects. Next we have the Whiffer Apprentice. It is green and black for a 2/2 human druid with Magecraft. Whenever you cast a copy in instant or sorcery, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. I talked about this briefly in the short spoiler video I did when spoiler season started. Excited for this for the main interaction deck because it works with the infinite copy spell combo that we run in that deck. But currently that combo requires 3 Izzet cards, and thankfully with this we can split one of the cards to 2 Izzet and a Golgari card, so it makes it a little bit easier to find. Also, with it being a creature, it's easier to tutor with our Signal for the Clans or our Eladamri's Call. So yeah, it's generally just for that thing. It's of all of the cycle, it's the one I'm most excited for, so I've just highlighted it here. Moving on to our choice for the command, we've got Prismari Command. Prismari Command is 1, a blue and a red. For an instant where you choose 2, it deals 2 damage to any target. You draw 2 cards and discard 2 cards, make a treasure token, or destroy an artifact. Primarily, I'm excited for this in Historic, Pioneer, and Modern. I'm going to try it in most of the formats probably. The shock is always relevant, looting is always relevant. It's essentially a ramp spell as well. And also, just removing an artifact is also relevant in many formats sometimes. Of the commands, I think this one is probably the strongest. It's the one I'm definitely looking forward to trying the most. But yeah, we've got to see how it plays into. I have missed when it comes to picking the strongest of a cycle before. But yeah, I'm excited to play Prismari Command in many different formats. Next we have Cosmina, the Enigmatic Sage. 1 a blue and a green for Legendary Planeswalker Cosmina. +1, scry 2, -X, create a 0/0 green and blue fractal token with 1 more X/1/1 counters on it. And -8, search your library for an instant or sorcery card that shares color with this Planeswalker, exile, shuffle. You may cast it without paying its mana cost. Her static ability is each Planeswalker you control has her abilities. So, big flavor win of Cosmina being a teacher, giving her abilities to other Planeswalkers. Excited for this to go in any deck where I run any of the uncommon Planeswalkers from War of the Spark where they don't have an uptick. Particularly ones where I might play them for just their static ability. For example, the Saheeli that generates tokens whenever you cast a non-creature spell. I think giving her a more relevant ability that she could just up to give her more loyalty and make her tougher to get rid of is always relevant. Aside from that, I think she might see play in some other formats. One thing I'm tempted to consider her for might be in a Historic or a Pioneer build where some Planeswalkers, just giving them a +2 might be more relevant. For example, if we play the Kaya from Kaldheim, a +2 immediately puts her on her ultimate. So there might be some synergies like that I'm just not seeing. But yeah, if she's one to keep in the back of my mind to try later. Next we have Fracture. I am excited for this as a purely sideboard card. Instant speed, 2 mana, destroy Planeswalker. I know it also says artifact or enchantment, but basically that's the part I'm focusing on. This to me is like a sideboard card against obviously some fringe artifact or enchantment decks, but in Historic, I want this because it's basically 2 mana, destroy someone's cast out and get back a card that's been exiled, because that's what Control is primarily using now. They're trying to circumvent the graveyard by using enchantments. Or 2 mana, destroy a Teferi before the untap ability resolves, and then they can protect it again. Yeah, so I think this is going to be a solid sideboard card definitely in Historic, but maybe also other formats. Because currently I run Despark, and Despark, well, fantastic, doesn't have great flexibility for some of their more problematic removal, like their Banishing Lights and things. It just slips under the radar. So this is my think of a strict upgrade potentially for it. Next we have Double Major, which is a Simic 1 green and a blue for a instant that's copy target creature spell you control, except it isn't legendary if the spell is legendary. This is purely something I'm going to abuse the heck out of in Commander. I'm literally going to look at copying Niv Mizzet when it enters, or copying one of the gods that I might play for advantage, or copying any kind of creature with an ETB ability, like a Phylath, or even outside of a Niv deck. one of the place a friend of mine was considering dropping this is in his Allies deck or his ETB deck. Like, there is a lot of fun stuff that can be done with this. It also potentially, I believe, goes infinite with if you have another copy spell and a dual caster mage kind of effect. So that's something to watch out for. But yeah, it's something that I'm excited to see. Yes, purely a commander card though in my eyes. And finally, we have Body of Research, which is green, 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 blue, blue, blue. Create a 0/0 blue and green fractal creature token and put X 1/1 counters on it, where X is the number of cards in your library. This is the craziest mythic in the cycle, I think, just in my eyes. This is we're going to create a 70-70 in commander or a 50-50 on the field. Just excited to put this in +1/+1 counters decks, token decks. Hell, even a sacrifice like Flingy deck. There's so many fun things I want to do with this card, even outside of commander. But yeah, this is basically, as I said, my choice for the craziest card in the set, and what I definitely look forward to playing the most. So that's our 7 that we're most excited about from the main set. Caveat at the end, I didn't include anything from the commander set. Not going to do that because literally probably 5 of those choices will be the new commanders or sub-commanders, because they are really fun to look at. But yeah, these are going to be our mining for gold cards that we're going to primarily look for when we go into our Strixhaven spoilers this week and crack those packs. Thank you for watching.